Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan, and today we are back with the June edition of my TBR game. Alright, so before we get into the game, I just want to briefly go over the books that I read last month. So last month kind of was a horrible roll in terms of the game. I only got 2 books that I had to read. So I kind of went crazy and ended up reading 17 books last month, which is insane. So I'm just going to go over those really quick before we get into the game. Alright, so I don't have a physical copy of them, but I will try to put pictures up over here. But I read volumes 1 and 2 of Chainsaw Man, which honestly I thought was okay. Wasn't my favorite. The story was interesting, but I think eventually, over time, I'll be able to read all of the volumes. And as far as my rating goes, I ended up giving both of them 3 stars. Alright, so next we have volumes 1 and 2 of Kaiju number 8. My sister actually recommended this series to me. She saw it online, I think on Viz, and she said it sounded really good. So we borrowed the first volume from the library, and we both fell in love with it. So I had to go pick up copies of my own, and honestly, I am loving this series. I feel like it's so unique. So our main character is a sanitation worker, and his job is to clean up after the defense force has defeated all these monsters in the city. And he wants to join the defense force, but he keeps failing the test. Now he's in his 30s and he doesn't really have that much time left to be able to join. And through some kind of accident, he ends up becoming a kaiju. So he's got to kind of keep this a secret as he's going through the academy. But yeah, honestly, these ones were great, and I can't wait to continue with the rest of the series. Alright, and then the last manga I read was volumes 3 through 7 of Spy Family. I love the series so much. It is like a combination of everything. It's got action, it's got comedy, also very heartwarming and whimsical. But yeah, I definitely binged the rest of this because the anime is out, and I'm loving the anime as well. Like, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely go check it out. And if you're into that, then I would definitely say pick up the volumes or borrow them from your library because this story is just really amazing. Alright, and now I'm gonna move on to the novels that I read this month. Alright, so the first one is the first book that I got from last month's Bookland, which was This Tender Land by William Kent Krueger. Oh my gosh, this book was amazing. I loved the story and the characters. It definitely reminded me a lot of like Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, but also like a little bit of Dickens as well. And just the journey that these characters go on, I was literally in tears by the end. And I really don't cry over books a lot, so the fact that this made me cry, I feel like is just a testament to how good this story was. So I gave this a 5 stars, and I would say definitely check this one out. Alright, the next one I read was Darling Girl by Liz Michalski. This was my May Book of the Month pick, and I have to say it was okay. It's supposed to be a Peter Pan retelling where Peter Pan is made the villain, but honestly, I thought that the mom was also kind of a villain as well. Just the way that she manipulates and uses her kids to meet her own goals. I didn't like it. There's definitely much better Peter Pan retellings out there. So yeah, for Darling Girl, I ended up rating this one 3 stars, just because I thought it was average. It wasn't terrible, but it's not the best Peter Pan retelling that I've read. Alright, next we have The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. I feel like this is a very underappreciated book of King's. I know it's definitely a departure from what he normally writes, but as a fantasy story, I thought this was really good and really well put together, and I think picking this up before I got into The Dark Tower definitely helped a lot because there's a lot of connections between this and that series. So if you're planning on doing that, or if you want to get into Stephen King, I would definitely recommend picking this one up, especially if you are a fan of fantasy already. But yeah, I rated this one a 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. Alright, the next one I also don't have a physical copy of because I borrowed it from the library, but I will put a picture up here. So I borrowed the collection known as the Bachman books, which collects the first 4 of Stephen King's books that he wrote as Richard Bachman. And out of that collection, I read Rage and I read Roadwork. Rage is about a school shooting, so because he didn't want that book to inspire more violence, he has since pulled it off the shelves and they are no longer allowed to publish that book, but clearly it's still available in older editions. But as far as the story goes, I didn't think it was that terrible. If anything, I think it should spark more conversations about gun violence and school shootings, especially with what's been going on recently in the news. So overall, I thought it was an average story, and I gave it a 3 stars. And the second story, Roadwork, ooh, let's talk about it. Okay, so I really hated this one, not gonna lie. I was really bored reading it. The guy is trying to protect his house because the town has decided to build a freeway. So he buys all these guns and he decides that he's gonna defend his house from being knocked down and being paved over. Honestly, it was just so boring that finally I literally was just skimming the pages just to try to finish the story and get through it. So yeah, out of all of the King that I've read so far, this was definitely my least favorite of anything that I've read of his. I just really didn't like the story. I gave it a 1 star. Alright, the next book that I read was Omnibus Book 1 of Vampire Hunter D, which combines the first 3 Vampire Hunter D books. Honestly, I thought this was pretty good. I also liked, like the fantasy, dark, western, horror kind of vibes going on with this. I would recommend, though, to not read this all at once. I would definitely separate them into the books because after a while, it did kind of become monotonous, and this is not a thin book. This is over 600 pages. So I think breaking this up by reading stuff in between would definitely help. I probably should have done that. I will do that once I pick up the second volume. But yeah, basically we follow D, who is a vampire hunter, but he is himself half human and half vampire, which I thought was a really interesting concept. I give this one a 3 stars just because I liked some of the stories more than others in this one, so I averaged it out to be 3 stars, which is not bad because I really did like this one. And I think the tones and everything definitely helped set me up to read The Dark Tower. Alright, and speaking of The Dark Tower, I read The Gunslinger as well as The Drawing of the Three. So I'm not going to say too much about these ones here because I actually made a Dark Tower reading vlog, which either is up or it should be going up very soon, depending on how quickly I can edit that. So yeah, I'm not going to say too much about these, but I will give my star rating. So for this one, I gave it a 3 stars, and The Drawing of the Three, I gave 4 stars. Alright, and with that covered, let's get into the game. Alright, so because I read so much last month, I'm not even going to finish this path. I'm just going to start at the beginning again. And I'm going to take one of these books and put it on the side in case I need it to help me fulfill a prompt. Alright, so let's roll to see how many books I have to read this month. Alright, so this month I will be reading 5 books. Alright, and here is roll number 1. Alright, we're moving 9 spaces. So the first book I got was either a graphic novel or manga, and for this one I am going to go with Volume 1 of Fangs. So basically all I know about this one is it's about gay vampires. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to starting this one, and I hope I really enjoy it. Alright, here's roll number 2. 10. Alright, the next one we got is sci-fi or fantasy, and for this one I am going to go with The Novice. This one I picked up a while ago, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I think the main character is able to summon demons. Other than that, I don't know too much about this one, but I am very excited to be starting the series this month. Alright, and here is roll number 3. Okay, so this is the first time that I've ever landed on one of the striped spaces, and basically I'm allowed to pick whatever I want for this one. Alright, and so the next one was the striped square, which means I can pick anything that I want. So I went ahead and picked Firestarter by Stephen King, mainly because I haven't read this one yet, and the movie just came out last month, so I wanted to read this before I watched the movie. I think basically this girl has telekinetic powers and she's able to do things with her mind. I'm guessing start fires. But yeah, I don't know too much about this one, but I know it's definitely a classic Stephen King. Alright, so far so good with these rolls. We haven't had any prompts yet, which is really good. So here we go for roll number 4. Alright, so the next one I got was either nonfiction or poetry, which I looked on my shelves and I don't really have anything that I feel like reading this month. So what I'm going to do is I'll either go to the library and pick up a book there, or I will use my book buff to buy a book. Alright, and here is our last roll of the game. Let's hope it's a good one. Alright, and then the last book we got was, again, either a graphic novel or manga. So for this one, I am picking up Bourbon Island 1730. So I picked this one up back at my library's book sale, which was in September. So I wanted to get this one for a while, and it's kind of just been sitting, and honestly, I really love the illustrations that are in here, so I'm going to pick it up and see what the heck this is even about, because I have no idea. Alright, and that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.